Hello, I am finally speaking to this lovely lady who I will hand over to introduce herself and tell us a little bit about herself.
Hi, Donna. Everyone who's watching. My name is Ksenija Nikolova, and I'm a fiction author from Macedonia. I come from Eastern Europe. Macedonia is in Eastern Europe, and I'm the author of 6 books. But recently, my novels were translated into English and published for the international market. So for that reason, here I am speaking to you today.
Indeed. That's amazing. Did you always know that you wanted to be a writer?
Yes, I think so, because even since I was a kid, I was always writing my poems, my journal, my things, for myself. So yes, writing has been a very, very strong part of my personality since I was very little. So I think that this was what I was supposed to do, and I'm very happy that I get to do what I love. That's very important to me.
And what gave you the push to actually do it properly?
To be honest, it was myself, I guess. When I was 19, I had a collection of stories that I've written, and they were just sitting in my laptop, and I just thought that this can be a book. This can be a collection of stories, and I just started talking to some people, and I approached a couple of publishers. So my journey started from there, but of course it was an ongoing one. I've learned so much since then, and I've changed a lot as an author, but I guess it was something that I really enjoyed doing. So why it was a logical progression of things for me.
And was it hard to go from writing short stories to full-length novels?
Oh, definitely. It's hard enough to write short stories and then start writing novels in Macedonian, and then translate them in English. Okay, have a professional do that for you. But then when I started facing the loss in translation issue, that happens a lot when you translate a book from one other language and you translate it into English. So people don't really connect to your story because of that translation. And then I decided to start writing my new novel that I'm working on now in English because of this issue. And luckily I had my education in English, so English has always been like my first language, apart from my mother tongue. So I was comfortable, doing that, but it was such a challenge because it's so different to write in another language, no matter how good you speak it, no matter how comfortable you feel when you speak it, it's still another level. So that's what I've been doing lately, and I'm very, very happy and excited about that.
And what's the publishing industry look like in Macedonia? So I know an author from Pakistan, and it's very, very limited. There's no support for authors. There's hardly any publishers, and I know he really struggles. So is it similar?
We do have a lot of, I say a lot because we are a small country, only 2 million people live in the entire country. So we do have a lot of publishers, giving the fact. But I think that we are trying our best given circumstances. I mean, the market is small, the people read, but, simply the budgets are so, tiny. So there is some very few things that can be done. But given the circumstances, I think that the situation is fine, and there's a lot of people who, are professional writers, and they have writing careers, and they have, translated books such as myself. So it's a journey, but it's a nice one. I think that we're progressing.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
because I think Pakistan's got one of the biggest populations in the world, and there genuinely is nothing. So for a small population, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I just know Macedonia is one of the teams that England beat at football quite frequently. Because it's
that's it. The only thing though that have been here of course, agents. We do not have agents. We don't have people who would professionally work with us, follow our career, and of course, offer our work and get us deals abroad. So this is left on us. We have to fight ourselves, and we have to walk that journey ourselves. So that's the hard part, I think. And if you want to find an agent, you have to do it. You have to do it from abroad. You have to do it like everyone else. You don't have agents in your country, and that's the only limitation that I can say is quite challenging. But other than that, the publishing industry is growing, and there are a couple of good, stable publishers that we're very proud of here.
Brilliant. I know it's like asking who your favourite child is, but do you have a favourite character that you've written so far?
Oh, I do. I definitely do. I don't like all of my characters. I'm impressed by all of them, and they make me wonder, but I don't necessarily like them all. That's the trick. You have to write things sometimes that are important for your book, but you don't necessarily like them personally, because you have to have different characters in your book. But I do have a favorite one, and then will probably be his name is Nicky, and he's a clown in one of my books, and he's a professional clown, and he's a very shy person, because clowns are often very shy people that just happen to be very good at entertaining others, but they're very shy and very closed and very like living in their own soul and mind. And yes, his journey is that book hasn't been translated in English for the fact it's only published in Macedonia for the Macedonian market, but it's very interesting story and one close to my heart, because I was always very impressed by clowns and by their power of entertaining so many people. And how do you do that when you're sad and when you're so lonely and when you don't have the energy to do it? How do you find the energy to do that? And that was so fascinating to me, and I think that's my favorite character.
Sounds awesome. And what's been one of the most fun scenes you've written out of all of your books?
Well, I have to say, there are lots of scenes that I'm writing in this book that I'm working on now. It's almost finished, and there's so many good scenes because the book is set in New York City, and just given the fact that New York is such a good, interesting city to place a story. And yet there have been so many stories placed in New York City, but this one, I guess it's different because it's, I have been waiting for a long time to write it, and I feel like this kind of story hasn't been written yet. And just, it's about 4 women, and there's so many interesting scenes you can write with 4 women who are different, but you have a conversation about the same things, and they all think differently, and they all still see things from a different angle. So there's a lot of interesting things that I'm doing right now, and I guess that I always tend to enjoy writing scenes that are actually very sad in the end, but there's lots of humor in it too, because that's how life is. Many times we hide our sadness behind humor, and this is something that I've implemented a lot in this book.
And have you set your books all over the place then? Do you just pick a place and?
Actually, I've been quite diverse with that. I have set book in Italy, in Paris, now in New York. There was a book here in Skopje, in my hometown in Macedonia. So yes, a couple of cities have been the set cities of my books, and I always tend to be inspired by cities. I cannot set a book in a city that doesn't necessarily inspire me. I have to, connect to the city in a way. And I lived in New York for a couple of months in my life, and I loved it in a way, and I hated it in another way. So I always was inspired by it. So I knew that one time I will, be ready to write a book that's set in New York.
Yeah, that's awesome. It's one of my it's top of my list of places I want to travel to. I've never been to New York, so I'm dying to go there, but obviously at the minute it's crazy. And what's been the hardest thing? What's been the hardest thing about writing, and what's one of the hardest things you've written? so far?
The hardest scenes, you mean, or the hardest things?
The hardest thing since you thought, I'm going to sit down and I'm going to write, and then what's one of the hardest scenes that you've written?
Okay, well, the scenes that include a lot of characters in them, and the scenes that include a complicated surrounding in that, if the scene is happening outside somewhere, let's say in the mall, for like it's happening right now in my book, and there are a couple of characters there, you have to be careful because you have to describe the surrounding. You have to be careful of each character, what they're doing in each moment, how the conversation goes. So when there's a lot of characters and all of them are equally important, of course, and the surrounding is also very diversity and complicated in a way that you have to describe it, those kind of scenes are quite challenging for me, because I'm always, I'm very focused on the emotions between the characters, and sometimes I forget to include the surrounding because I feel like the reader will connect to the characters and know and feel what I feel when I write. But that's not really how it goes. You have to give lots of information to the reader for them to imagine the story accurately. So yeah, those things are very challenging for me.
When you edit, what's your most overused word or phrase?
I don't know. I just think that probably I use a lot of like kept on going, kept on walking, kept on talking. I use a lot of that. But a good thing is that I don't necessarily. I always work with an editor, and I'm very open to criticism. That's a good thing about myself. Francis, I know that the editor knows better and gives me advices for the book to be better. So I'm open to that, and I'm open to improve it in any way. So that's a good thing.
Do you hide anything secret in your books? Any little events or jokes between you and your friends that only they would understand if they read it?
Say that again, excuse me?
Do you hide any like little secrets or in-jokes or events that have happened between you and your friends that only they would understand if they read it?
Oh no, I rarely find inspiration in those kind of things. My work is pure fiction, but I'm inspired by other stuff, but more by emotions, by things that are far away from me, but I have felt them in a way. I'm inspired by human conversations, and those don't necessarily include my personal life or my friends or my family. It can be just people that I've met once, or people that I've seen on TV, or people that just inspired me for 5 minutes, and I've remembered them. So I find inspiration everywhere, and in a very weird way it comes to me. So yeah.
And what do the people around you think as they read your books, and are they proud of you?
Well, yeah, I have a lot of support from my family and friends, and of course people here in Macedonia. For me to be a translated author already is a success for all of us. It gives the light in the tunnel for all of us, and it proves that it can happen to any of us, if we work hard to achieve our dreams. So yes, I think that people support me, and they're proud of me, and I'm proud of them for their achievements.
Have you made lots of author friends since you started writing?
Of course, I have a lot of from abroad now. I have a lot of co-authors from my publishing house, and they're from all over the world, and we all talk and connect, and we have so much in common, but yet we're so different. So I do have a lot of friends, and it's good to talk with people who understand your journey and who are going to the same place as you are. So it's very constructive conversations we're having.
Oh, that's good. And do you get a lot of feedback from readers?
I do, and I think that's so different because here in Macedonia we don't really write reviews. We don't really have a place where we write reviews. We do some constructive criticism, but that's like, did you like the book or did you not like the book? But we don't really have reviewers or people like that do blog tours and stuff like that. So that was a new thing for me when I published my book for the international market in English. So yeah, people approach me and write reviews, and I am very appreciative of that. There's bad reviews, good reviews, but they're all good constructive criticism, and I learn a lot from them, and I take them very seriously. I don't take them for granted. I'm not close-minded in that sense. I know that there's people who will like and people who will not like that book, and that's completely fine. But as long as we learn something from it, that's the most important thing.
Do any authors inspire you?
Well, I do have a couple of authors that are actually from here. One of them has passed away, unfortunately, and he was a screenplay writer, and he was also a writer. So he was amazing, and he's written so many things that were translated in other languages. And his name was Goran Stefanovski. He's one of the best in my opinion. And we have some other authors here who also were translated in their books were translated in other languages. And yes, there is a lot of good quality writers, so that inspire me in many ways.
And do you get much chance to read yourself?
To read myself?
Yeah, to
read my own book.
No, just read in general.
Myself to read. Okay, yeah. Yes, I do. The thing is about that when I write a book and when I'm in the process of writing, let's say that I tend to not read other stuff because it confuses me in a way that it's not good for my inspiration, and it kind of messes with my thoughts and my journey. But in between books, whenever that happens, I love to read, and I think it's important to read, but it's also important to have to work on yourself in a way that to develop your own skills. I don't think that an author that has a voice has to be a copycat of another great author. We have to find our own voices within ourselves, and this is something you can't learn. You can't learn by reading a lot of stuff. You have to find it in yourself and just work on yourself. You have to learn it by developing your own technique and your own skills, and just get to know yourself and be open to change and be open to inspiration. And that's how authors find voices, because having a voice is the most important thing. The technical part is learnable. You can learn it, and you can be very good at it, and you can become better at it, and take professional classes about it. But no one can teach you to find the voice inside of you. You have to do it yourself. So that's one thing why I'm very, very specific when it comes to my own voice. I think I found it in my early ages of writing, and I feel grateful for that. And I don't want to lose that, in a way that I will become very, how can I say, commercialized author that will look like a lot of other authors. I want to become better, but I don't want to lose my identity.
Since that day when you decided that you're going to publish those short stories to today, what's been that absolute highlight for you? What's been the moment that stands out as like, yes, this is amazing?
Well, definitely would be the part when I started. I had three book deals for done in 1 year. So that was like the highlight of my career. It happened last year. I had 2 of my books translated in English, and then 1 in Russian, and then 1 in Bulgarian. So that was a lot of deals that happened in very short time. So yeah, all of that I've been dreaming for, happened very fast. And this is how it usually goes. You work for something so hard, and then it just happens. If it happens in a moment when you least expect it, and it happens very fast for you. So you're like, oh my God, what is happening? But it's actually not a coincidence, because you worked so hard for that.
And what's your goal? Do you want to see your books made into films or TV, or just keep selling them?
Oh, Oh, definitely. I'm a hidden screenwriter myself. I think screenwriter at soul, and I had some things written in that sense as well. But it's just here in Macedonia, you don't really have the space to do something in that terms, because the budgets are very limited. We produce very little films, and usually the films that are produced by one man show, because of budget, and we don't really have lots of opportunities to show what we can do. But yeah, it would be a dream of mine to have one of my books turned into a movie, and it would be a dream of mine to adapt a screenplay based on one of my books. So yeah, that would be my goal. Of course, that would be my goal.
Do you have any author events coming up this year?
Events?
Yeah.
Yeah, the launch of my upcoming book, Dissatisfied, it's on the 29th of April. And since it's going to be a virtual event, I'm probably going to do a live event on Facebook or something like that. I'm open to, book signings, and wherever people invite me, I would love to go if I can. Of course, I'm located in Macedonia, so that's a little bit far away from everything else, but we can arrange something, and I'm open to that. An opportunity, I hope it comes, and if it comes, I will definitely, use it.
And when you're not writing, what do you like to do with your time?
I love to work on my other stuff that I'm working on. I'm also a songwriter. I write lyrics for songs here in Macedonia, so I love doing that. And I'm also developing a project for women. It's called Better Women, Better World. It's an online platform that gives tools to women to improve their lives. So it's kind of an improvement for women here in Macedonia. And I'm actually very into those kind of platforms that, projects that help people in a way that improves something in the society and solves a problem that people face. So I would love to continue doing that. And of course, social networks have helped me a lot, because I also work as on them as an influencer. That has happened very logically because of my writing. So people started following me, so obviously you develop an influence, and then you start working as that as well. But I don't think that I'm a typical influencer, because I have my writing is my basis. So I love doing everything that's creative. I enjoy it very much.
So you said your latest book's out on April 29th, and then what's next for you? Do you know what's coming after that?
Yeah, the book that I'm writing now, it's almost finished, so we're gonna polish it and finish it with editing. And once it's done, I will see what happens. We're going to publish it for sure, but we'll see when that happens. But for now, I'm focused on the launch of the upcoming book. I'm very excited to share it with you guys.
Brilliant. Well, I can't think of any more questions for you, unless you think there's anything I haven't asked you that you want to tell us.
Well, I just want to thank you for this wonderful opportunity. It means a lot. Thank you for giving us space to talk about ourselves and to present our work and to feel important for 10 minutes, because that's so motivating. For we do. I feel like artists, work so hard, and sometimes they feel so devastated, because many times it feels like it's not worth it, because it's such a difficult work to succeed in. And things like this makes us feel important, and makes us we're doing something, makes us feel we're doing something right. So thank you for giving us the space and the time and everything.
You're very welcome. You deserve it, all of you. I think you're all amazing, so it's no problem.
Thank you so much.
If people wanted to get your books and find out more about you, where could they do so?
They can find my books on Amazon, other platforms. They can check out my website, ksenianikolova.net. They can find me on social media. I'm everywhere. Literally, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, on Twitter, so they can easily find me.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.